Hello everyone, these are the latest figures I've finished painting. They are 28mm German Marines or Sea Battalion for the Boxer Rebellion. The range is from, well, they're called EMP Miniatures, which is the house range, if you like, of Wargames Emporium, which is a wargaming shop in Sheffield. They stock a lot of different brands and ranges of figures and so on, but they have their own, as I say, house range, with a sort of fairly eclectic selection of figures. They don't do anything terribly standard. They do quite a lot of Boxer Rebellion, which is very helpful for me, but it's not the most popular of wargaming genres. They do a little bit of World War One in the Middle East sort of stuff, so they do Australian Light Horse and Turks. They've got a few sort of odd fantasy stroke sci-fi things mixed in there and a couple of other things like that, but as I say, they're useful to me because I'm always keen to acquire Boxer Rebellion figures to build up my collection ready for this scenario that I eventually want to play out, long way off in the future yet. Anyway, they are, how can I put it? They're perfectly adequate figures. I don't dislike them, but they're nothing really to rave about. Let me just zoom in a little bit and give you a better look at them. Can. Very solid, chunky, stout looking figures. I think the key word that I would use to describe them is that they are simplistic. So let me explain what I mean by that, by just interposing temporarily a figure that I've shown you already, which is from Tiger Miniatures, and this was a freebie that Tiger Miniatures threw in with another order I placed with them, and it's also of a German Marine. Now, as you can probably see, the German Marine has got a sort of different variation on how he's wearing all his kit. He's wearing it in what you would think of as the more traditional or standard German way, with the, well, it's kind of a dual purpose blanket and tent quarter wrapped around his backpack. Let me just show you, although it's not terribly obvious, the Osprey description of that. So there you can see German Marine, and you can tell that he's wearing the blanket rolled over his backpack, which is also wearing. Now, let's take the irrelevant figure for the purposes of this video off the table again. Go back to the EMP Miniatures. What EMP have done is depicted the figures all wearing the tent quarter or the blanket roll wrapped over the shoulder. Now, occasionally, the German Marines did wear it like that. There's certainly a photograph of some German Marines taken at the time of the Boxer Rebellion, who are photographed on the dock at Tsingtao, which was the German concessionary port in China, but sort of the German equivalent of the British Hong Kong. And they are waiting to embark onto a ship, and they are certainly all wearing their tent quarters over their shoulder. So was that done possibly so that they could, sort of move more quickly for sort of greater ease, less of a burden to them? Possibly, yeah. So it's quite reasonable for EMP to depict them as such, but I strongly suspect that EMP or Wargames Emporium have chosen to show them because it's a far easier, simple, way of portraying them than going all the effort of kitting them out with full backpack and everything. So it's fair enough, as I say. It means they're kind of adequate, but they're not sort of overburdened with detail. But it does result in some strange, well, I think they're strange oddities about the figures. So if I turn one around again, let's turn this guy around again. To me, there's a glaring omission from these figures, which is none of them have water canteens. Now, they might discard their backpacks for the sake of ease and comfort and speed of movement, but they're not going to dispose of their water canteens, especially in the conditions that the Boxer Rebellion was fought under. So that seems odd to me for a start. Next up, I don't know whether, I doubt very much whether we'll be able to hone in, focus in too closely on the figures, but some of the figures are bearded, some have moustaches and some have clean shaven faces. All the ones with beards don't have a chin strap on their helmet. All the other ones do have a chin strap, which is being worn under the chin. You might be able to make that out, I don't know. You might just have to take my word for it. But again, my point is that's slightly strange, because with the figures that aren't wearing the chin strap under their chin, where has the chin strap gone? It's not lifted up over the rim of the helmet. It's just removed. Again, I think, for the sake of simplicity, rather than any sort of historical accuracy about it. I mean, in terms of colonial figures in general, not just German ones, it seems to me that the most common way of wearing tropical helmets, pith helmets, this type of German helmet was known as a Bortfeld helmet, but it seems to me most chin straps during this era weren't actually used as chin straps. Maybe they were if it was particularly windy, or the figures were on horseback, maybe, I don't know. But most of the time you see figures and you see illustrations and photographs and so on, and the chin strap isn't worn under the chin. So I don't know why EMP made the decision to portray them as such. But having done it, it's sort of odd to me again that there's no room on the sculpt, as it were, because the beards are really, thick and bushy beards. There's nowhere to actually put the chin strap, so they've just made it disappear. Anyway, I'll stop going on about that because it's not a big issue. I don't want to make a big thing about it. But again, with the helmets, if you look at the Imperial Eagle on the front of the helmets, all it is a shape that's been cast onto the figure. Not even an irregular shape. It's only vaguely in the shape of the Imperial Eagle. So it's a completely flat surface. There's no detail on it whatsoever. So what you have to do is paint it in such a way that you actually paint the impression of an eagle onto that flat surface. I'm sure it's not beyond the wit of man, to put a little bit more detail on a figure than that. Especially having got that primary shape onto the figure. Surely they could have just used a sculpting tool just to put a few indentations in it, something like that. Again, not a big thing, but it does, it does make me feel that these figures are, as I say, nothing to rave about, but perfectly adequate for a war game. And in the scenario that I'm setting up, I need 10 figures. I've actually got 16 here, so more than enough now. And I can move on to another nationality, another contingent, and get on with that. And that is that. I think that's everything I have to say on these figures. 6 out of 10, maybe. They're not, as I say, they're not brilliant. Nothing really to hate them for. A little bit, they've got that one figure in particular, this one here, has got that curious Old Glory stance of firing a rifle and looking away as though he's suddenly been distracted by something else, which seems to be a popular pose with some sculptors, but I always find it a little bit odd. Anyway, I'm coming out with a few too many criticisms of these figures. I don't hate them or anything. I'm quite very pleased with the way they've turned out. So I'll stop at that point and say thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye for now.